Oh, should we open the new cameras? Sorry, pups. Should we open the new camera on the podcast? Guys, we're moving up in the world here. We're in full multicam second mic, which I still have to set up, but it's a little crazy right now. Just because, holidays, unpacking. Mom's still doing notes halfway through.
Filling in a few things.
Yeah, filling in a few things. A little flustered. Today has been a very busy day for me. Clearly, my mom's pretty busy too. But look at this. We got new... Well, I don't even know what this is. Is this it?
No, those
are shoes.
Those are
okay.
tuxedo shoes.
Strong start.
I guess it says about nothing about it.
Strong start to the pod. Let's see it. Wow, this seems really light for a GoPro, if this is the GoPro.
Well, they're tiny.
Oh, it is. Wow. Look at that. It's like a full unboxing experience, boys.
There's Christmas all over.
It's like the Christmas present that didn't come because we got it off of a sketchy website. Wow, that is... Wow. Feel how much lighter that is. And it's almost like technology's improved in 10 years.
Is it lighter?
Yeah, that's...
I feel it's bigger.
It's bigger, but it's lighter.
Yeah.
GoPro. Nice. Ooh. All right, I'll set that up later. So now we'll have like a multicam setup, like all the big podcasters, Mom. We're making waves. I'm going to move this over here. Anyway, I know some of you guys are probably still traveling, which, right, today is New Year's Eve, technically. So it's been, again, as I said, chaotic. Very chaotic the last couple of days. But hopefully your holidays are going well. Ours went pretty smooth. I was telling my mom I went to the gym, and you always ask people like, "Oh, how was your holidays?" I think we're the only ones that didn't have like a full-on fist fight. Yeah. I feel like everyone I know had full-on fist fights with their family. I was like, "Geez," like, what the hell? But yeah.
The secret: you get the hell in, you get the hell out.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't linger.
Here's your presents.
You don't linger.
Don't even wrap them anymore.
Once the conversation goes beyond "How are you?" time to wrap it up. Wrap it up, get in the car.
Hey, what are your political views?
Get in the car.
In the car.
We're done.
Well, I just want to tilt this
I have no political views. It's time to go.
It's hot down here, too. That's never fun.
Oh, you're wearing your new shirt?
I'm wearing my Money Tuna Lobster shirt, the new collab shirt.
Shout out to Johnny.
Johnny with his LLC. Speaking
Money
of merch,
Tuna Lobster.
We are in the process of finding someone who will do it for us, help us with the merch, because the mass production of merch is a nightmare. We've gone over that. So, again, sorry if we're a little flustered, but I'm ready to go.
We'll give you a plug on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll say thanks.
We'll say thanks. We'll run your little ad at the bottom.
Yeah. In the corner, it's just fine print.
That's okay.
So, as I said, hold on.
Sweden.
Yeah, did silence for 1 second. Okay, as I said, we are working with one mic just because that one's not set up yet. So
maybe you should do some shirts in Swedish. Pancake with Swedish.
Oh, because we went. Spotify gave us our Wrapped tour for how our podcast did. Top 25 in the world for content right now. Ooh. Let's go, because everyone else I guess skips out. And then 13% of our audience is from Sweden. So
just with Swedish.
We're
shirts.
killing it over here. We have to start doing them in we're Mr. Worldwide. Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide. All right. So, oh wow, this is the old version of my Chrome. Let me just reopen. Do you want to start with yours, or do you want to start with mine?
Well, my first one is I'll start with my Barbra Walters one.
Go for it. Oh,
so Barbra Walters dropped dead.
Oh, we're going to start off on a low note? Okay, we can go through that.
Well, she was 93 years old, right? Was it 93 or 95? I sent you the article.
Right.
She lived a good life, but she was an interesting person as a young girl growing up. Because remember, when I was younger, there were not many women in media, let alone being an anchor on a news show.
Right.
So she started as she was the first woman to co-host a morning and an evening newscast, like the Good Morning shows we have today, Today's Show, whatnot. But she was on, I think she was on ABC or CBS. CBS. She was the first female co-anchor. So you guys take that for granted now. Now you have shows where there are two women. At the time, this was groundbreaking, and she had to. I recall she had a big struggle to get the same pay as the male anchor at the time, and she was considered a co-anchor. She also created that wonderful show that we all love, The View, that we're constantly picking on for the people in their comments. When that first came out, I remember watching it when it first came out. It was a creative idea. She had 5 women, different backgrounds. Some of them were no-name people. And they would just come in and talk about, the topics of the day. And whether you like the show or hate the show, which I'm not a big fan of it anymore, it does still get a lot of attention. A lot of political pundits will quote what was said on The View from these women because they reflect a certain, market share in the media.
I mean, Whoopi Goldberg's just breaking the news every time I see her on there.
She's in it all the time. Joy Behar, all those people. Behar was one of the original ones, Joy Behar. And I think there's one, Matt Napoulos, I think was her name was, a young person. But anyhow, that was The View. So Barbra had a 50-year career. In that time, she won 12 Emmys.
Wow.
I also remember her before every Academy Award show, she would do a special. And it was a given. She was the lead show. And she would interview like 3 of the most up-and-coming or most attention.
She's kind of like, would you compare her to, like, if I'm a news celebrity, would you say she was kind of like almost like the original Ellen? I know they're kind of different, but, like, you know what I mean? From a publicity standpoint.
Ellen's more like a Jimmy Kimmel type, right? Barbra Walters started with news. So she was known for because she got some she would interview Castro.
Oh, wow.
She would interview world leaders. I don't know if she did Putin, but Brezhnev, whatever. She would get those interviews, and she got a lot of attention for that because sometimes I think she got it because she was female. That's what made her unique, got her a lot of attention on the news, and that's why a lot of these male leaders, when she would harass them into doing an interview with her,
right,
they would concede and do it because they knew she was going to get the prime spot as the only female. On top of that, so she would do these fluff pieces, and that's where The View, where all these celebrities like Whoopi Goldberg kind of mixed with the news world because she was known for that show. So she'd have like George Clooney because he had the biggest movie that year. If she was still alive and doing it, she'd probably interview Tom Cruise, right? Because he had the biggest movie this year. So she would do 3 or 4 celebrities, and that was a given before every Oscar. That's back when people used to watch the Oscars.
Back when the viewership was like the Super Bowl.
Right. And I used to watch them too every time. Who's Barbra Walters going to have on? So she went out of View, no pun intended, 10 years ago, I think she stopped. She went on the show one time.
Wow, she stopped at 83?
No. She worked a long time because The View was only, when did that come out? I don't know if I wrote that down. How long could The View be around? 20 years, maybe?
The View, TV show.
And that she was on, at the beginning she was on it every day. Then she phased out and she would go on like once a week. And eventually she left it. I think she came back once in Blue Moon.
Oh, wow, yeah. So it started in 97.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. So
Almost
The View actually has been canceled in 2022. December 16th, the final episode. Oh,
that can't be
bastards. Final episode of 2022.
Yeah. That's...
I love the clickbait there.
I was going to say, we'd hear more if that show was being
Disgusting.
So anyhow, kudos to Barbra Walters for
one hell of a
breaking into
career.
the glass ceiling. When I read her history, her family history, her parents were in the entertainment business. Her father was a theater director or somehow involved in entertainment, which makes it interesting that she was able to mesh so much of that together. So now you have the offshoot of, like a Jimmy Kimmel, where they mix politics with celebrities.
Comedy and...
Right.
Yeah,
that's kind of like she was one of the people that sort of changed it over from hardcore news, this is the news, to this is the news with a little entertainment, to or a political pundit or an entertainment show and we do political pundit.
Right.
So.
I mean, arguably a very... could be maybe the first TV personality, I guess you could say, that really made, like, kind of history. And she's going to be a huge part of TV history.
Oh, she already has been. They've already...
She has been, but this kind of solidifies it.
Yeah, in her lifetime, she was known, again, first female...
Everything.
Hard-hitting news, And again, she got the presidents she would interview. It's not like she just did fluff pieces.
Right.
And she had to fight to get those interviews, so...
On the... Let's keep it happy. On the verge of death, or on the topic of death, we talked about this yesterday, but Keenan Cahill, I believe his last name, he was that kid that was... Cahill?
Cahill.
Cahill. he was that YouTuber I told you passed away, unfortunately.
Yep.
Died at 27. So for those of you that might be even too young to remember this guy, I remember his Vines and all that stuff, but he was known for doing lip-sync videos with celebrities. He passed away on the 30th, I believe it was. On Friday the 30th. So what's today? Oh, yes, literally yesterday that was. He ended up passing away during a complication during surgery. So what ended up happening, I believe he had a form of dwarfism. And what ended up happening was, it's called Moro-Tox-Lamy syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's basically, it's a type of carditis. So it's enlarging of the organs. So his body wasn't growing, but his
Carditis
organs.
is the heart, usually.
Right, but the full term is musculopolysaccharidosis.
Okay, say that a few times.
So it's basically his body's organs were growing faster than his actual body. So he would have a lot of surgeries, it sounds like, because they had to keep everything small.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, his one of the surgeries, so he just had open heart surgery, and he died on the table, unfortunately.
That's sad.
Yeah, 27 years old. He will be missed. I truthfully don't know if he ever continued with YouTube and stuff. He might have just moved on with his life. I'd like to check, but rest easy. Yeah. That's really it. He brought a lot of happy faces. Here, let me show you a video.
He did a lot.
You might recognize him.
Lifetime.
He was this guy. Do you recognize him at all?
I don't recognize him, but I've seen him since he died, because he was on all the websites.
Yeah, but
he must have known that was going to be a problem down the road.
When you're having a lot of surgeries your entire life, I mean, you can only hit 100% so many times.
Yeah, you got to outpace it at some point. I'm sure he was forewarned of that.
Yeah. So.
Keeping in line with deaths.
Let's just keep it on a happy note for New Year's.
Let's go for the hat trick. Pope Benedict died.
Pope Benedict, right.
He made it to 95, same ages. So she was 95 also. I think they were both the same age, Pope Benedict and Barbra Walters.
She was 93.
Was she 93?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought somebody said also 95. He was the first pontiff in 600 years to resign as pope. Usually they die.
So for those of you that aren't Catholic or don't know, our pope is like kind of like for the Catholic faith, it's basically like our president.
No, he's the head of the church.
He's the head of the church, but like I'm trying to put if I was to say it to someone who knows nothing about religion, he's like our North Star, like what would you say, closest thing to God?
Yeah, I would just say the head of the church.
Head of the church. So of all the churches in the world. So
he's called they throw in the term Peter, because Peter was the first of the apostles to be the pope that Christ chose to be the head of the church.
We're gonna get a whole Christianity lesson here.
But I'm just saying Peter's the rock. So he's the pope. Apparently they came down from St. Peter, and someone was chosen each time to lead the church. And usually they are in that role till they die. And then they have all the cardinals come together and pick a new pope.
Yep.
Pope Benedict, I think he was becoming ill. They didn't go into too much detail. They just said he's becoming ill.
Well, he ended up resigning as pope, which again doesn't happen too often. But if I remember correctly, it was because of memory issues. Like his brain was.
That's what they said. You and I talked about this.
Yeah.
There's some story there. We're not quite sure.
Sometimes listen. All religions have their problems, but I think there's a little something to that a lot of people. I'm just saying, there's Alex Jones hits right every now and then. I think he's right on that one. We won't go into it, but I think if you look that one up.
Well, we've had a lot of wacky popes. We've had two popes when we had the schism. So a lot of history in the Catholic Church. Hence the reason why Christ made a point of telling the story in the Bible that St. Peter denied him 3 times, right, before he died. And people would say, oh, why would he do that? Well, in my opinion, it's to remind all of us the Pope is human and fallible. And even though a lot of people in the church make him, and he is supposed to be an important leader, a great theologian, as Pope Benedict was. He was a professor.
So
he was
Peter,
a great theologian.
Just because I think people are going to be like, doesn't she mean Judas? There's 2 stories of that, right? One's Peter and one's Judas,
Judas
right?
did sell Christ out for gold
Peter
coins.
was the 3.
Peter at the Last Supper said,
You're right.
I would never deny you. He said, I will tell you, before the cock crows 3 times, you will crows 2 times or whatever in the morning, you will deny me 3 times. And he did, because at the time everybody was becoming violent. They wanted all the followers of Christ. It was a very frightening time. And all the apostles were getting nervous. And they worried about Mary too, the mother of Christ, because Christ was just arrested. Long story short, that's the message that I take from it, to always remind us. St. Peter was one of the greatest saints that we've ever had. But he was human and fallible, and he sinned. And we know that from the Bible and literally from the story of Christ's death. Having said that, the Pope is fallible. There is something that they call, when the Pope speaks, infallibly. And there's a Latin term for it, meaning what he says is the rule. In theory, that's very rare, and when the Pope does it, it's after a lot of research, it's a lot of discussion.
Yeah, there's a lot of people involved whenever there's what we have is called, our big changes are called the ecumenical council.
They do ecumenical councils, yes.
It's a big deal. We've only had, I think, 3 of them or something in the history of our religion, right? So,
well, and Pope Benedict was very conservative. So Pope John Paul II was the previous pope, who was beloved by many people, respected by his enemies left and right, was a great leader for our faith because the faith grew. Then he died and Benedict took over. Benedict was far more conservative, and he wanted to bring everything back to the traditional church. And that's why there's a lot of question about, did they want him out because they felt that he was not going to help the church, because there's a whole faction in the church that wants us to be more liberal. We could have that debate another time, but there's some issues that they started to dredge up some things that may or may not have been true about Benedict to force him to say, you know what, I'll step down and someone else can come in. And then we wind up with the socialists that we currently have.
Was he?
No joke. He's from
Brazil,
right. Argentina, and he's a Jesuit. They don't get much more socialist than that. So
I can't get over the fact, and I'm going to be laughing a lot, but I'm literally watching the cat absolutely begging my mother to move.
I'm in her chair.
I don't know how I'll edit this, but you can see her little head in the bottom of the camera. She's like, "What the hell is this?"
Clawing my back probably pretty soon if I don't move.
She's like, "Hey, move."
If you see me flinching from the bloody claws.
So Benedict, was he the one that did the Third Ecumenical Council? I mean, I was alive for it.
He had 3 papal encyclicals. That's different. He wrote 3 papal encyclicals.
Who was the one that changed the? Remember when we started changing certain rules in the church, like in the sense of certain parts now you stand and kneel for, and then the thing where you do the thing when you.
Well, you had the Second Vatican Council, but that was in the 1960s. That was huge when they had the Vatican Council. Recent things, they've tweaked some of the rules. Every now and then they change things that the rituals in the Mass. They try to keep it basic, but they'll change the wording around just to keep it a little bit fresher. So people get a little bored with it after a while. Sometimes you go through a phase where there's too much music. Sometimes you go through a phase where they want more music. Sometimes they change the prayers around. Hardcore changes, there haven't been too many. However, there's currently a synodal conference going on in Europe right now, and it's creating another more drama in the Catholic Church, because there are those that are absolutely opposed to this. It's far too liberal. It goes against church teachings, and naturally the parts of the church that are saying we need to do this, we need to upgrade the church, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean we've had that. I don't remember which podcast it was, and we don't have to rehash it out. But the idea that the church, all religions really, I mean, there's a certain level of kind of behind the times, if that makes sense. And a lot of the things that we talked about last time was the music and kids having shorter attention span, adults having shorter attention span. So I don't know what kind of changes they're talking about, but
these are more like should we allow gays to be married in the church?
Homosexuals. You don't have to...
Homosexuals, gays, what do you want to say? Transgender also. Yeah. So they're trying to open it up to all individuals, and there is an ongoing debate about true Catholic faith per the Bible. Homosexuality is not acceptable. That's a fact. It was in the Bible. Well, there are bishops and priests in Europe that disagree.
Right.
Some of them tend to be heavily involved in the homosexual community.
The rule is, though, today, it's just that you just can't get married in the Catholic Church, right? If you're openly homosexual, it's not that you can't be in church, right?
Homosexuality, the act of,
right,
is a sin as far as the Catholic Church is concerned.
Based on the Bible.
And others, based on the rules and the canonical law that comes from the Bible. So it's not just the Bible where they flip through the pages. we've created books and books of canonical law in the church. Other religions have it too. They have their own rules and regulations. And this happens to be the case, but naturally they want to bend it. Now, that doesn't mean homosexuals aren't allowed in the church. They absolutely are. Every person's welcome.
It's just not able to be married in the Catholic Church.
Well, or the act of homosexuality. You know, you are a sinner. But we're all sinners. You know, everybody has sins. The difference is the church can't condone it. They don't say, well, it's okay that you just robbed a bank, and when you leave here, you're going to rob a bank again. That's a sin. You're not supposed to do that. You can't condone that. Lifestyle's the same thing. It's the church considers it a sin. So this synodal conference, that's what they're trying to do. Say, well, wait a minute. Maybe we should look at it differently. Maybe it's not a sin. That's where the theologians have to get involved and have to sort of hash out.
I bet the bigger one that they're talking about right now, though, is probably can either priests marry or can women be priests?
Yes,
because
that always comes up.
That always comes up because the amount of priests that are left is getting smaller and smaller.
Yes.
The priesthood is not. There's just not as many. There's just not as many people going down that faith anymore. But a lot of women go down the. No, I shouldn't say a lot, but statistically, more women go down the religious route rather than men.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm pretty sure there's more nuns than.
Not priests. A lot of nuns, but I don't know necessarily that it's one or the other. I do know, and it's a bit of a concern, that many young priests right now are very conservative and very traditional Catholics. Many of them are being kicked out of the church by our Pope. And I have a problem, well, by their bishops and whatnot. And I have a problem with that. There was a recent priest, Father Pavone, who did some very controversial things. He's the pro-life priest, okay?
Right.
He's had some very controversial, shocking, dramatic things that he has done. And for that, the Pope defrocked him. He said, you can no longer be a Catholic priest. This is one of the strongest and most forthright priests you have right now, especially in the Western world, who's anti-abortion, who's totally pro-life, and has been very upfront and forceful and has had an impact, I believe, in the movement. He's been doing it for years and years and years. Of all the things in the church right now, I personally, and I have a right to say it as a Catholic, a member of the church, I think that's the last person you should be defrocking right now. And that's one of many reasons why I have a problem with the current rulers or hierarchy of the Catholic Church that currently exists. So back to Pope Benedict, I have my doubts as to why he resigned. I have a feeling he was possibly forced to leave, meaning all of a sudden they drummed up stories about him because they wanted a more socialist, more liberal Pope to come in.
So just to go back on what I said, so there are in 2021 there were 42,000 nuns roughly. Total priests are 34,900, basically 35,000. So
where in the world, in the country, United States? Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be the U.S. Yes, but we're not. I mean, we're predominantly a large country, but we're not the biggest Catholic countries. And I know we have nuns now in Nigeria. We have priests in Nigeria openly begging the Pope to do something to help them down there.
Yeah, because
it's sad. It's awful. But so Pope Benedict, having been a conservative, we're not sure whether that was something they wanted at the time, and naturally he was asked to resign. But I said he wrote 3 papal encyclicals, very conservative. Leaders from all over the world were commenting how sad they were to see him go. One thing they referenced, he was a great theologian, which is important too. You know, we're losing a lot of those learned, used to be the Jesuits, frankly. He was not a Jesuit, I don't think. But the learned ones, the ones who really studied not just our religion, but other religions, and based a lot of things in fact and in history and whatnot. So sad that he is gone, but he had a good life, 95.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And we were talking before, I always wonder what happened. We've never had a pope resign in over 600 years.
In 600 years.
So where does he go? It's not like you just throw the former pope in a retirement home.
Oh, there's plenty of facilities. They had a picture of him in the article. There's a picture of him where he was retired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like to think he's in Cancun just.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't in Cancun. But, And I don't know if they didn't make any comments about his mental capacity.
Yeah,
other people.
Yeah, I would think that if he was really on a mental decline, like a serious one to the point where he had to resign, I would think that you would hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
But that's why it gets a little dicey.
Yeah. Oh, we always make that. I shouldn't say the joke about the soup. So there was a Pope John Paul the First. Oh no, was it Pope John? Now I'm not sure in order, but okay. So you had Pope John Paul II. There was a pope before him.
You don't have to whisper.
Well,
notice how you always do this
because it's conspiracy theory.
Okay? My mother always does this. She acts like everyone's listening. It's going on YouTube either way. So
they always tell the story about he wasn't in office very long, maybe a few months, youngish. He wasn't elderly. It was like a nice, fresh, young bishop, elevated to pope. He was in office about a month, dies in the middle of the night. And part of the story was, they brought up his soup. He had his dinner in bed. He had a bowl of soup, but he was dead the next morning. So we're saying about, future popes. We're like, whatever, we don't want time to get the soup.
Oh, man.
Time to make the special soup.
Is that how he ended up dying? Do we ever know?
They don't know. They don't tell you anything. Oh, he had a heart attack or something like that. He was a young guy. I was young then myself. I must have been maybe a teenager. I just remember going through, and there's a whole process for people who are not familiar with the Catholic faith.
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals get locked in a room. They have to take a vote. They cannot come out.
It's like honestly, it's like the most honestly, it's kind of cultish when you think about it, in the sense of basically what ends up happening. I believe it's in Italy, right?
Yes, they meet in the Vatican.
So it is in the Vatican.
Yeah,
I thought it was in a special place, but basically all the cardinals from all over the world. Basically, so you have the Pope, and then the cardinals are underneath, and they're not really underneath. They're more so just like they're almost like the Pope's disciples. When you kind of think about it,
the Pope comes from them. They pick one of their own.
Exactly. So
that's all they do, by the way.
That's their whole job.
That's all the cardinals do is to pick the Pope.
Yeah.
They're usually elevated, learned theologians.
They've gone through the system pretty in depth. They've usually done quite a few things too. I was hoping Father John would get to that. Our Catholic priest. I hope he does. Yeah. He will. But the cardinals, I want to say there's.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Because there's many from all over the world.
Let's see. How many?
Well, you met one.
Yeah. Do you want to tell that story?
No.
Well, we can't go down that road because that's our friend's uncle.
Yeah, you don't go down that road. Right.
Yeah.
So there's cardinals throughout the... and they do have some political influence, too, because many of them do.
They come from all literally, cardinals come from all over the world. Milan.
All over the walks of life, and they can give a perspective,
Japan.
The power of the Catholic Church in its heyday. They could give perspective to any world leaders that might want to have an opinion of how morally it's viewed, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they do much of that anymore. Now it's more political, how to get the Catholic vote kind of thing, what would appease the church. So, the cardinals get together. They're supposed to stay in a room, and they don't come out until they choose a pope.
So there are 128 cardinals. And then...
they all write on a piece of paper, and if they don't have a unanimous vote, they burn the papers, and the smoke comes out white.
Brown. Right?
Comes out one color. I think when it comes out white, now I'm confused. Either it's black or it's white.
No, black is when they throw it in, and the paper burns.
Then they add something when they have a pope.
And then when they decide the pope, it's white.
So
it's
it comes
kind
out
of
white.
cool.
So everybody in the world knows, we have a new pope. Yeah. And then they literally, within a short amount of time before the cardinals come out, they put the robes on the guy chosen, and out he goes on the balcony in St. Peter's Square.
It's a little cultish. I won't lie to you, but it's cool. It's a cool tradition.
Yes.
I do like, with all religions, there's always some pretty cool traditions.
Well, the only problem I have with it as an American is it's not a democracy.
Right.
It's a hierarchy.
Right.
The Catholic Church has always been that way. And the only influence you have is with, if you're involved in the church and you have a voice, but even then, we've had our fair share of monsignors we've run into. It's basically my way or the highway.
Yeah.
And the choice is the highway. Now, as fewer people are in the pews and whatnot, now you have some more leverage if you're, everything comes to money. If you give a lot of money to a church, and I'm not saying priests give into that or monsignors do, but that speaks volumes, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to play sides to a certain extent. I mean, you have to keep whoever's keeping the church running happy.
Right.
So that's just with business too, and you name it.
Yes.
So, I mean, when it comes to religion, and especially the Catholic faith, I'm sure all religions are like this, but I hate to say it, but there's still a certain amount of politics being played.
Well, and a lot of people have a negative view of the Catholic faith because of our leaders, and I don't blame them. Because oftentimes, and I've done this in politics, just because the person's the head doesn't mean they represent the majority of the people.
Yeah.
I think people are starting to realize that in the Catholic Church. And I think the church, because they have a hierarchy, they don't listen always to the people. They're going to do what they're going to do. And you and I talked about this. Younger generation wants it more liberal. Oh, if you change everything, we'll come back. Well, then they don't come back. And all you do is you alienate those people who were always there and never left the church.
Right. But isn't that kind of the trick, though? You don't want to put all your, I guess, the eggs in one basket, but you do have to kind of keep up with it. Like, if you, there can always be a change. I'm sure you can think of a change that you would like in the church.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
So,
sure.
like, little things like that. I know I say, like, oh, get rid of the music. I don't think you have to get rid of the music, but you have to, like, either make it a little more upbeat or something. You know, I know we have a book that, I forget what book it's called, but it has all the psalms and music in it. The one that we get all of our songs from. Yeah, but what's it called?
The hymnal.
Is that? But what's the original one called? The one from? There's like
Bible?
A special name for it. No. There's like a. It's almost like I want to say it was written in like the 400s. It was all the songs that they would use in the church.
Oh, I don't know what that's called.
It's got a special name for it.
Okay.
But basically, again, when we're using songs from the 400s, and then all we've done is kind of update the music. Like now we have organs, guitars, whatever, rather than just harpsichords and sticks.
Yeah, but you know what? In the 70s, I want to say, maybe it was the 80s.
Get some rap in there.
No, they changed. They put the Our Father to music.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No, I can't imagine
a whole song.
That.
Oh, I'll sing it for you later. And we all started singing it, and the old people didn't like it. I didn't like it either as I got older. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, don't mess up with prayer.
No, but see, they try and again, Chris, who are you kidding? No, it's not going to make people come back. If they got rid of music tomorrow, people aren't going to flock back to the church.
It's not really about getting rid of the music, but like here's a better example. So I used to do a camp, we all did, called Summer Sun Song. And it was like it was a camp for younger kids. Camp, so yeah, it was a religious camp. The songs in there were fun for the kids.
It's a cult now.
Yeah, right. It was fun for the kids. And those songs were like there were dances and stuff to them. You don't have that in the church, but Sandy.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Yes, Lord. So this is quickly becoming a religious podcast.
A cult. Yeah. Twitter cult.
Yeah.
The Jesus cult.
Yeah. But like the Christian faith, theirs is more upbeat. So it's like a 2-hour mass, but it's like everyone's. Or Baptist church.
Well, Baptists are very lively, yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Can I get an amen?
Yeah. Well, we have the Catholics have the, oh gosh, I can't think of it. Grandma always said, but they're very lively. They have Catholic masses that are very lively. Now I can't think of the word. I've been to one of those. It's a lot of fun.
See, like that's what I mean. I wouldn't mind a longer mass if it's fun, but if you're just sitting there,
you wouldn't. Stop lying. Stop lying to your podcast.
Well, it'll go by
people.
faster.
No.
It'll go by faster. You know, when you're having. I feel like I'm just sitting there the whole time sometimes, and I'm just like, who farted?
I told you, I used to go to the golf mass. It was called the golf mass because the priest golfed when I was little. 7:00, you were done by 7:20.
Wow.
Okay, no music, and it was a full mass. Your readings. He had a 5-minute. Back then, you didn't have to do the full 5. He had like a 3-minute homily. Eucharist. There were so few people there that the Eucharist line was quick, and I was out of there.
Wow.
Yeah, but you had to get up for the 7:00 mass. That's the downside.
If it was at 9,
well,
who knows?
You wouldn't get up.
That's just a time of you never know. I think timing's also.
But here's the thing: at some point, you have to say, in any religion, you can't keep bending the rules for everybody because you can't please everybody, and you have.
Is there a difference though between
have to have
bending
a line.
the rules and keeping up with the times?
Well. There's a rule that if you're divorced, you're not supposed to receive communion if you were married in Catholic Church.
Right.
Okay, and that applies to people in my family who I consider very religious. But that's the rule. Well, they've bent that rule. Should they have? You could have a debate about that. Well, because so many people are divorced. Just because people do that doesn't mean that that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's the point. The more the church I felt became flexible, the easier it was for people to end their marriages and have divorces. So now you got like a catch-22 going here. Do we make it so easy that people don't make the effort as much anymore?
True, but also isn't... when that rule started, government wasn't as involved in marriage as it... Like, I don't think the divorces nowadays have so much to do with religion as much as it is like finances in the home, other government reasons. Like I heard a couple stories where.
Well, remember, there's a difference between a civil marriage,
right,
and a church marriage. Right, they're both recognized by the government as being a legitimate marriage because a priest can sign off, or an imam or a rabbi can sign off on it. But there are legal ramifications in a civil marriage. There are legal and moral ramifications in a spiritual marriage. There are rules in the Jewish faith, there's rules in the Muslim faith and the Catholic faith. And when you enter into that marriage, they're very clear about what the rules are. You're only supposed to get married once in the Catholic Church.
So isn't the way around that to not get married in the Catholic Church but keep going to school?
Sure, but prior to my generation,
that wasn't rare.
That was very, very bad.
Rare, yeah.
If you did not get married in it was like a shame on your family if you didn't get. And I guarantee you, I mean, look at some of the devout Muslims. They won't even let their children date non-Muslims. Right. So, as crazy as they consider the Catholic Church always gets a bad rap. Look at some of the other religions out there. They're way behind where we are in terms of liberalism and what's allowed. But our church isn't growing as quickly as the Muslim faith. Makes you wonder. Matter of fact, our church is not getting as large. It's losing people. The Christian faith also. If it wasn't for the evangelicals, the people all mock.
Couldn't you make the argument, though, that most religions are kind of falling apart? There's not as many as there used to be anyway in any religion.
No, but some are growing. The Muslim faith is growing.
Is it?
Yeah, there's more people becoming
Muslim.
Muslim.
Is that because people want to be Muslim, or are they being forced into it?
I don't know. People might say, well, people being forced into being Catholics or Christians. I don't know. But, the numbers speak for themselves. They're growing in some places. But I sent you guys articles. We're not going to do it in the podcast, but I told you about young men that they're suffering, and it's not economical, and it's not political. I did see that. It's spiritual. Yeah. And it wasn't about, Jesus, God, and go to church. It was like we have spoken about, I think on the podcast, finding meaning to their lives.
Was that the one where we almost got into a fist fight? I was ready. I was about to jump the table.
I saw that. It was ugly. But it was, that's part of the whole, as faiths in general die down, is it the faiths dying down, or is it people losing interest in it? Is it... I believe it's a pendulum, and I think you're going to see it swing back. Maybe not in my lifetime or your lifetime, but I think there will be such a degree of emptiness for people, or a lack of fulfillment, even though they're surrounded by gadgets, things, and everything else. They will reach a point as human beings, if we're not chipped up, a la Mr.
Here's
Musk,
a question.
where they're going to say there's got to be more to life than this.
Do you think religion will ever be dead? And here's what I mean by that. Before we had our religion, the Muslim faith, like even go back before Jesus, do you think like back when, you have to have language, I guess, to have religion. I don't know if there's studies on that, but do you think early languages had some sort of religion that just kind of fizzled out once?
Early languages? What do you mean, cultures?
Early cultures. Like you had the Indians and Indians.
Well, if you remember from your history, every civilization forms some sort of religion.
Right.
And that's always comes first. Right. So they organize, they form a religion, and sometimes that's the government.
Like the guys that... the sun, Norse mythology.
Right. They have a tribe. They have some religious figure. It could be a medicine man. It could be a talent. There's always some. That's human nature. So there's always some sort of draw to the spiritual. Right.
To the unknown. It's almost not.
To the unknown.
Spiritual is debatable because. And technically, it's not spiritual that they're looking for. They just want to know what's up there because they didn't have the technology.
Right. Back then, they were immature mentally, ignorant, didn't know a lot, but they did understand there was something greater than themselves. Mm-hmm. For them, it was even greater because they couldn't wrap their minds around it.
To the point where they'd sacrifice them.
But, ironically, they were at greater peace. They knew their place, these cultures. Like they weren't as stressed as much. They
that's debatable. We don't really know that.
Right, but in general, it wasn't necessarily worse that they didn't know as much. They came up with answers and they lived with those answers. It was the gods, it was the this, it was the that. For nowadays, it's the other extreme where people are like, well, there is no God, so something's causing this. Mm. Okay, you can keep saying that till you're blue in the face, then maybe you'll solve every problem out there. At the end of the day, we keep going back to what are you living for?
Right.
And that's where I say. But in answer to your question, I'm going to say as a Catholic, there will always be faith because I literally know from Christ, quoted in Matthew, he said the Catholic Church will always exist. It will never die.
Right. Like, I think the Muslim faith is another one, though, because it's so big.
I shouldn't say Catholic. I believe he said the Christian faith. The Christian faith will never die.
Christian faith. And then, certain faiths are so big that, that's another, almost like how we talk about social medias. I think they're so big that they're going to continue on. So I think from here on out, we will have the same, like, I think you will have Christianity, Islam, Judaism. But I think we will get to the point, just because that's just how history works, where things are going to start splitting off, and you're going to have like different types of
Make no mistake, and I firmly believe there is good and evil in the world, purely good and evil. Not the devil with the pitchfork and the snake, with the tail and all that, but there is evil. That is part of life and reality, and you have good. I do believe that there are individuals in this world who are outright evil. And there's enough of them with enough power that you could see the work of so many institutions is to destroy religion. That is their goal.
Yeah, when those evil people become very powerful people.
Which we're seeing. And they're convincing religions, and not just Christianity. They attack religions. They may not do it directly, although sometimes they do. But they undermine churches. They use government people. They shut churches down, which we've witnessed, right? Even though it's for a short period of time. They put their foot in the water and say, look, we can shut down a church if we really want to. And in our country, we firmly believe, or we always used to believe, you don't go near a person's faith. That's untouchable by a government. The church decides what they're going to do. Well, we crossed a line with that in recent years. Having said that, they're making inroads. Make no mistake. And there's those of us who believe we have some very evil people in our own Catholic faith. I believe that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
we have proof of that, too. Remember we had that pedophile ring that another one AJ was right about.
Yeah.
The one in Pennsylvania.
There's a lot of evil things sitting right there, right next to the Pope. And we've had a history of issues with individuals.
Popes, yeah.
Going back to what I originally said, Christ made it very clear to us. There will be evil, and it could be in the church. He didn't make it sound like these people are untouchable. He sent a very clear message to the universal Christian church, meaning people of generations after, long after Peter, that the church is something that is on earth, but that God will always protect it.
Did Jesus make the papacy, or did papacy?
No, the apostles created the original Christians.
How could Jesus have said something about that when he died and then the church was made?
I'm going to let you answer that question based on your kiss of faith.
Yeah, because Peter makes the church.
Why do you think? Peter did not make the church.
I
don't want to get into too much theology here, but Christ is the church. Christ is the Son of God.
Right, but
he
from
created the church. No.
Wait,
church has got.
But who built the first church? Peter.
No,
so
Peter was his handman on earth. Christ knew full well the church that he built while he was here by his death and resurrection. Christ built our church. He's the Son of God. He knew exactly what was coming. He knows what's going to happen 100 years from now in our church. We don't know it. He knows it. But he verbally said in his lifetime, as written by Matthew, quoting him, the church will always be here. It may not be in the form that you will think it will be. And there's other scriptures that will say, as long as two people, are gathered in my name, I will be there and the church will exist. So, we all think that the church has to be millions and millions of people. We want it to grow. As Christians, that's our goal. We don't do it by force. We don't do it by, knives and swords, which was the mistake of the early church. They did that and it failed, right? Crusades and those type of violent things. They thought they were doing the right thing. Christ never raised a sword. Christ didn't have to. Yeah. He created a church without any violence. As a matter of fact, he was the victim of the violence. And from him came this giant church. But same thing with other faiths that are very militant. It's great, but will it last? If you base it on violence, do these, like you said,
at some point you're going to be
followers of the Muslim faith?
Because at a certain point you're going to be turning violence at your own people, because there's going to be a schism at some point.
Right. Violence is not, you can't convince somebody to believe something. Faith is not something you can beat into somebody. You can have them parrot you because they're afraid of injury and harm, and you can brainwash, but is that truly taking on a faith? No. Right. And that's not what, our leader, it's not Christ wanted. He didn't come down and say, I'm going to beat this into you. And he also told the apostles, a lot of people, they're going to hurt you. They're going to stone you. They're going to treat you like garbage.
Some of the 12 disciples had some of the worst deaths possible.
Yes.
So, they really believed in whatever they were believing in.
That's right.
You can't deny that.
That's right.
after that theological rant.
Yeah, but good news. I have no more death.
Let's go. Yeah, well, this was not really death, but Sam Bankman-Fried denies moving Almeida-linked funds. None of these are me. So I don't know if you saw. I said this last night because I was reading it while we were playing Siege. It is wild to me how that man is walking essentially free right now.
I know.
So for those of you that don't know, I had to do some research on this because I didn't understand how it worked. But okay, he gets caught in the Bahamas or wherever his house was, whatever it is, gets transferred up to here. Now remember, his cell down there, which was known for as one of the worst prisons in the world, he had full TV. He had full couches. It was almost like a little penthouse for him in cell form, right?
Yep.
He gets moved back up to here.
To the US.
And the reason I'm telling you this is because clearly something's going on here.
Yeah.
Where he's in the pockets of someone. So he comes back, goes to a trial, whatever. He gets bail. He posts bail, which is $250 million, right? Now, here's the part of this I didn't understand. I was like, there's no way someone paid $250 million for him. So it's a special type of bail. So the way it works is you only have to pay 10% of the bail as long as you put up something else for collateral. So right now he's staying in the house, so it's like one of his parents' $15 million mansions or whatever.
Yeah.
Puts it up as the collateral, and he can still live in it. So he puts it up for collateral, and someone just has to pay the other $10 million. So some anonymous guy, which I'm sure is some politician, paid the other $10 million, which is probably nothing to them.
Yeah.
So this guy's going to get off free, I believe. I think he's going to get moved somewhere else, but my God, that's wild to me.
First thing I would say is this. This is the inequity in our system, okay? A person is innocent until proved guilty. Technically, he's innocent in the eyes of the court. So when you get arrested for something, you're brought in front of a judge, they apply bail if you're at risk or whatever. And you put up bail, you get that back if you go to court. When you go to court, you get proved innocent, right? So right now, it's a process. He is not a violent criminal, therefore he can, I'm assuming, he can post bail. And you're right; it's a percentage of what the court says.
Usually, you have to pay the full, like a small case, I guess.
No,
I don't
not
know if
always.
there's money. But
I don't think you always have to pay it.
I've never heard of this.
But part of the reason why we're having so much crime right now in the streets is most of these cities have no bail anymore. They've completely eliminated bail. That's where I find the irony that this guy is paying bail, and I'm not saying he shouldn't. But meanwhile, I've got murderers and killers who are literally released after they've been picked up for murdering and stealing.
Can't say the R word on YouTube to say no.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, so they for crimes. Okay, so you got people being picked up for crimes that are heinous crimes, very violent crimes, and they're told to come back to court, and there's no bail in some of these cities, so they're right back out on the street. Oftentimes, these are mentally disturbed individuals, and they just go and do it again. We've had 2-3 years of this going on in major cities. So for somebody like Bankman-Fried, I think everybody should have bail. I think for serious crimes, you should be locked up. In his case, he's not necessarily violent, but you have to worry about him leaving the country and disappearing from the face of the earth.
This is going to be one that they kind of throw down. But it's just wild to me how a guy's bail is $250 million. And all you have to do is put up something for collateral that's only 10% as long as you stay inside the house or whatever under house arrest. Yeah. So he can still post on Facebook. Yeah. He can still do his markets, whatever he wants to do. He can
go on TV.
Go on TV.
Because that's the society we live in, too. Yeah. There's no shame.
And he only has to pay... So he will never have to pay the other, whatever it is, $225 million. He'll never have to pay it. Because of the collateral, as long as he stays for a certain amount of time.
But if he takes off, they're going to take his parents' house.
He's going to take after. He's probably going to take off after.
Maybe, yeah. But if that's the case, they're going to lose... They're going to lose their home. They're going to lose the person that put up the $10 million will lose their $10 million, unless there's some sort of backdoor way he can get it back to these people. Who knows?
Well, a worst case scenario, they lose $15 million.
No, I didn't hear the numbers, but whatever that 10% is.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's insane that let's say again because it's not a violent crime, right? It has to be. So $250 million. The rule is that as long as he puts something down as collateral, which is their house, which pays, so he has to hit 10% under certain rules, which we just said he's just not. It's basically a glorified house arrest, and it's not a small house by any means. So he only has to pay $25 million total, and he just has to serve what's essentially a house arrest, and then the rest becomes null.
Right. But it is kind of silly to take him and throw him in prison, and meanwhile, I'm letting violent offenders go out literally the next day. So
I don't know if I would compare those two, just because now we're talking, again, one's a violent crime, one's not a violent crime.
Right, but you're applying it's the same system. A person gets arrested. If they're a serious threat, normally the judge would say, no bail, you're going to sit in prison until your trial date. But because everything's so backed up and, liberals and everything else, some of these districts decided no bail. Judges cannot apply bail.
Right.
So instead, they say, oh, you just murdered somebody? Okay, come back on this date for your trial with your lawyer, and you're free to go.
Right.
It's absurd, but this is what's going on. So this is the standard for somebody like Bankman-Fried. He gets in front of a judge. These are the charges. Okay, you're a flight risk. He probably had to surrender his passports, and he's told $250 million bail. Got to put up 10%. If he leaves the country and we can't find him, that 10% goes to the court.
That's why I don't think he's gonna end up leaving until after. Like after that, I think he's just gonna leave because he knows no one in America is gonna like him.
Let's see if he even has to. He's already got major newspapers praising him like he's the greatest thing ever.
These people are wild.
This is the culture we live in. That's why he's sitting at home in a nice house, because there's no shame anymore. I mean, this individual, if it's proved true, allegedly, right, he has robbed you, me, and everybody else through pension funds and whatnot that invested in this clown, and it was a scam. So who's going to have to pay for that? You and me, and your listeners in this country. We have to pay for that, and foreign countries, too, that invested. So, yeah, you're damn right. This is a Bernie Madoff on steroids.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about, this isn't even the worst of all of them. He's like small potatoes compared to some of these other things that are coming out from some of these other hedge funds and crypto funds that are exaggerated over the top.
Yeah.
And I'll just show you this headline. The Bahamas Securities Commission. They say it seized $3.5 billion in FTX assets for safekeeping. So they're just going to take a chunk of that money, whether he's guilty or not, because they have different laws down there, just to hold on to it, so that they have something to give back to their poor investors and whatnot, and probably rich investors who are getting scammed by this guy.
Yeah, it's just wild to me that this guy's essentially walking free.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So.
And by the way, he should be squeezed because he's not the head man. He's just a figure.
Yeah.
He's representing some very powerful individuals that don't want you to know who they are, which is why you see him kissing people in Congress and kissing people in the Senate and shaking hands with celebrities, because they all know he doesn't have to say a word. He will get protected. He'll get some slap on the wrist, and he'll walk away with millions of dollars. Allegedly. We'll see.
On that note, we will transfer into another crypto scam.
Yeah.
That's kind of pretty big right now. So Logan Paul, this is an interesting story. Yeah,
I didn't hear this one. You mentioned
so
it before.
Logan Paul, I just want to make sure that we're not okay. So Logan Paul a long time ago started a crypto an NFT.
Yeah.
So NFT, we talked about last podcast or a couple ago. It basically stands for non-fungible token. It's basically the idea that I could take a picture of something, you can
it's like
buy it.
Pokemon cards for adults.
That's a very good way of putting it, because that's essentially what he did.
Yeah.
So he made this crypto game, and I will say it's interesting how it works. Right? You buy an egg. It evolves, and then you can keep evolving however you pay for it, whatever. So basically what an NFT is, for those of you that don't know, it's a random generator that makes an image. What ended up happening was they weren't really making any images, but what they would do is just take like stock photos, slam them together. Like you would take like an elephant and a panda, throw them together, and it's just like a panda with a trunk. So right off the bat... Panda fit.
Panda fit.
So...
like Pokemon.
So... It's first off, I also want to say, CoffeeZilla is a big YouTuber who broke this down. He did like a whole documentary on it. It is a wild story if you see how much of a mess this scam is. But basically, people were putting in all this money, right, buying these NFTs, but for some reason there's no capital. Like where's all the money? Yeah, right. It's going somewhere.
Another Ponzi thing.
So. Logan obviously worked on this. Basically, he made all these cards, and he had his own NFT. That wasn't just this. This is just a different NFT. He's really doubled down on the NFTs. So he's got a couple different types of NFTs going. But the problem with this is that, one, you're taking a lot of money from viewers who say, oh, we trusted you. First off, why would you trust Logan Paul with...
I know.
Listen, I'm in the crypto space, and I wouldn't trust what I say about like.
Look at FTX. These are bright people. Hedge fund managers are supposed to know better.
So, you're right. So this is what I think happened. As someone who we've worked with NFTs, Kenny and I have done the creation of NFTs and looked into it and all that stuff for one of our companies, which will not be named. But we ended up not doing it because of this reason. So what ended up happening is, first off, so you have to hire someone to actually do there's tons of companies out there, but they have to actually put the random generator in so that it can make the NFTs, essentially. Now, these people are not charging small amounts of money. This guy charged $50,000, and Logan was like, that's probably about right. That's reasonable.
That's crazy.
Right? It's actually a reasonable
for
price.
One NFT.
No, for the systems that will make it together. Like,
I'm
just saying NFTs in general.
Okay.
So you have to have someone who makes that. And then what ended up happening in this situation is Logan had this guy that did it, and the guy, he didn't pay the guy, and the guy goes, okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to run to Sweden, and you're going to have to buy it off me for $1 million.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
that's a problem.
Yeah, so Logan's blaming this guy. But the real issue is, or not real issue, but because of this guy running away, they used whatever they had, caused a lot of problems with people paying like $10,000 for an egg. They couldn't open it, or the card would be messed up.
Gosh.
So it was a shit show to begin with, and it was, hey, we're going to fix it over time. Now, the other sign that there was a problem here, and not really a problem in the sense of the NFT issue, like obviously behind the scenes there's something going on from a hardware perspective. The other issue was Logan wasn't really that involved. So we have a Discord server, as you know. He only posted twice in over a year of this project in the Discord that tens of thousands of people are in. And the company CryptoZoo, that's the game, just wasn't showing any money. Like, you're supposed to have cap sheets. You're supposed to have market values, even for an NFT. So here's what ended up happening. And this is speculation. This is more so my guess, but I feel like it's a pretty...
You say allegedly.
Allegedly. I feel like this is a pretty good guess because everyone's being quiet. I think another company came to Logan with this idea, and they said, hey, you're going to be the face of this.
Yeah.
And obviously Logan's taking all the heat, but I guarantee you this was a... What's the word? Sucker punch to him because he didn't expect this, but he's going to take all the blame for this. Yeah. What ended up happening is he had higher up people. One of these guys was known in the crypto industry for basically scamming people in NFTs, and he said, hey, I want to do a project with you. Logan said, sure. Yeah. And basically the whole thing ended up being almost like a Ponzi scheme, another Ponzi scheme down the drain. So again, do I blame Logan for this? Well, I mean, again, he was a founder or like forefather of NFTs. Like, he's the one that truthfully made them pretty popular. And I think in Logan's head, he's trying to keep these alive, but it's tanked so much, just like Bitcoin, that it's tough to keep these alive. And then on top of that, no cap sheets, no money being seen. Like, what's going on? So it sounds like the higher up guys, that guy that I told you about that basically scam people, higher up investors that had this idea and wanted him to be the forefront, they took the money and ran. Because now it seems like Logan's struggling to find these guys to help fix this situation, and Logan's going to have to end up paying up, I believe. I think he's going to take the brunt of this force. So it sucks for him. Again.
Well, no. Okay, here's my take on it. These celebrities, they are their name. That's their business. Okay? He knew they were using his name for a business.
I hope he did.
You can't just, we live in a society with no accountability. So all of a sudden, it's not my fault because I'm not the financial person. I'm not this, I'm not that. I just let them use my name. You gave up the most powerful thing, the most valuable thing you had. Where were your lawyers looking into these companies?
Yeah, you should have done
Where was
research.
Your financial manager? Where were your accountants? Where was your personal PR person who's supposed to be paid by you to protect your name? And that's why you hire all these people. And you're supposed to get reputable ones that aren't going to run as soon as something happens. But guess what? If that happens, that's your name.
Yeah. There was a PR, it's funny, there was a PR person, that CoffeeZilla guy called his PR guy, gave the worst PR answers. Like, it was kind of like the most, I don't understand, like, imagine you asking me what's 2 + 2, and I'm just like, I don't understand the question. Like, it was not a very good way of handling it. Yeah. And
but
it's
normally,
not that,
if that was your business, if it's Pancake 101,
you fire him right away. Like, you can't.
You fire them, or
Yeah.
if it gets to the point where he's at now, you turn around and you sue all those lawyers. But you better have a track record of having sat down with these people and not just said, "Here's my name," and walk away.
Yeah.
And now you're going to cry because they ruined your name. That's your asset. It's not. I don't know what this Logan guy does, but that's your name.
I'm not gonna say I'm defending Logan here. Like, people got screwed out of money. Kids that look up to Logan and had a lot of
but
faith.
we're seeing this happening with Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen,
again, it's
all these,
happening everywhere.
Paltrow, all these celebrities, and then they walk away saying, "I didn't know," but you gave your name to support something,
that's
and
the
that's
problem.
your
And
asset.
I think that's what happened here. I'm sure Logan had somewhat of an idea, but he didn't have somewhat of the idea of like how the NFT works and how he wanted it to be. But when it comes to the back door of people actually putting in the money, the investors, the people that are really running the company, because again, he's just a figurehead, right?
But and also, by the way, this is not like the old days where a celebrity would endorse a product, a chapstick, or something that's a couple bucks.
We're talking stuff that's going to cost you tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands.
Absolutely.
I saw in the CoffeeZilla interview a guy lost $500,000 in Logan's NFT here.
Right. And there's got to be accountability. And I'm not saying investors need to do their research also. And there's risk with an investment too. But there's also resources to research. You don't just throw money into pyramid schemes or blindly. You can. There's no law that says you can't.
Yeah, it's still kind of.
We can't turn around and say, "Oh, nobody told me that the company was a fake."
Exactly.
Do your research. I mean, you really should. Or go to a reputable company. Don't just throw money at companies you don't know.
I think what happened, and again, I'm not defending Logan, but I think viewers got duped by Logan, and Logan got duped by the higher-ups who had this idea and said, "Hey, Logan, we got a great idea," and they ran off with the money.
But guess what? In
Logan's
our country, Logan has the right to countersue them. But if he wasn't paying attention, if he didn't document it, if he wasn't involved, if he didn't have good people, if he wasn't smart enough, and not everybody has a business mind, and you can still be a very profitable, intelligent person, if he didn't know to do that, guess what? Welcome to America. That's how it works.
Yeah, I hope he's lawyered up, but also you're dealing with guys that, again, these are professional scammers. That guy that you worked with, it's going to be a tough road for Logan, I think. Next year, 2023 is not going to be his year.
Well, I don't know what more it takes for these people to learn.
And he's taking L after L.
That big thing. I don't know what more it will take for these people to come to realize that, these are big dollars. Like I said, you're not selling chapstick to people or rub cream.
Jeffree Star makeup.
Right. This is major stuff. What is that?
It's one of those little stink bugs.
Oh, this is now you're talking big dollars, and all the more reason why you better have. She's gonna get it. All the more reason why you better have people on top of it. Have good people you trust. Lawyers and PR, like we said, and not just fly by night people that you're gonna give your name, your greatest asset, to these people and say, "Here, run with it and keep me posted," and not think there's no accountability just because you didn't want to be bothered with it.
Right.
That's lesson learned.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, but.
I know in the old days, a lot of celebrities would say, "Well, I'm not going to endorse your toilet paper until I use it and make sure it's good."
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they did it because they didn't want to have their name, their reputation ruined over certain things.
Like, it's stuff like this. It sucks that because Logan was, as I said, on the forefront of the NFTs. Like, the fact that he's taking this L is, it really, NFTs are already kind of in the tank right now. This does not help.
No.
Crypto's just taking left hook after left hook right now. It's kind of tough. But again, I hope Logan doesn't get absolutely crushed, but I have a gut feeling he's going to lose quite a bit of money here. It's not going to be a fun 2023.
And I hope he's a cautionary tale for a lot of celebrities who don't mean to, but are misleading a lot of people that don't. That are putting their life savings into these things, right?
Right.
And trust me, Logan was making some money at it, or at least on paper. It looked like he was making money. Didn't mind it then. And then when things fall apart and the money's all gone and he's left holding the bag, another reason why they should do their due diligence if they really care about the people that are investing, quote unquote, in them, in their name, and in their product.
Right. Other controversial internet personality. So, as we saw, Andrew Tate and his brother got detained for a month in Romania. I'm sure YouTube will let us talk about this because it makes Tate kind of look bad. But so, you said this before about how media really has gone a little too far. So this all started with freaking Greta Thunberg on Twitter, which she said something pretty funny. She said he had a small penis energy or whatever, which is hilarious. But what I also find hilarious about the left on Twitter, and I know I always rip into the left, but a lot of them on Twitter, I'm just going to straight up say they're kind of idiots. I love how she says that, and they're like, "Oh, Andrew Tate is done. It's over." Like that was the needle that broke the camel's back. It's unbelievable to me how funny that is. But today you got the
straw that broke the
needle, whatever, potato. I just find that so funny how they're like, "Oh, it's over." Over some girls just making a hashtag, but it's funny they run with it. And today, just to add, what's the word? Just to add
insult to injury.
I guess is the right word.
Making it worse.
Yeah. So Andrew Tate and his brother just got detained for human trafficking and.
I can't say the R word, but
the R word for human trafficking, basically. Now, there's been a couple other news outlets who I wouldn't say are as reputable that said it was for money laundering. Mm-hmm. I think we'll find out what it is in the next couple weeks. If it's human trafficking, I would be surprised only because if you're detained for a day, it's probably not human trafficking. You'd be in for a little bit longer than a day because you have to start.
I don't know the laws of Romania.
That is true. I don't know how it works there.
And he had made a point of saying you pick the most corrupt country to move to because they're the easiest ones to pay off, right? Yeah. That was his logic. Based on that, we're going to test his theory. Can he buy himself out of this problem in Romania if he has all this money and is able to do it? So.
To your point, I don't know the laws of Romania, but I would assume pretty much everywhere, if you're human trafficking overseas or wherever, I have to assume you're going to be detained a lot longer than 24 hours.
I can't say that. I don't know.
I have to assume that. That's a pretty serious thing. Even in Romania. Romania's, what's their national religion?
Oh, I don't know. Could be.
Is it Muslim?
I don't know. It could be a Muslim area now. It might have been a Christian. It's close to the Poland, Hungarian, Romania, near the Slavic countries. So,
Oh, 86% of the
Romanians.
Oh. ROC adherents. Religious demographic. I don't know what that means. I'm not even sure. Top 3. Oh, here we go. This will be easy. So it's mainly Eastern Orthodox.
Oh, Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah, and then Protestantism. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's like it's Christian.
Yeah, basically.
Not the Roman Catholic Church. It's the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Right. So I would assume that they're getting detained longer than.
You can't say that. I don't know the rules in these countries.
I mean, if it's, I don't know. You're right. I can't make the assumption. It sounds like I'm defending.
You have to remember, some of these countries, Chris, they treat women like dirt.
Yeah.
Do you think they care?
I would just think that Christian
people make money that way.
When Christian Orthodox or Eastern Orthodox is high on the list.
Didn't you see Taken?
I'm
kidding, but those were Romanian people holding these girls, right? I mean, don't assume that they treat that as a serious. They should. We're in agreement, but we're westernized. We don't. Other countries have different rules. I don't know what the law is for it.
But basically, just to reiterate, so either way, he gets detained for the day, but it sounds like he's still on like a house arrest for 30. So he's still technically detained, but it's within his own household. So he's still able to tweet. He's still able to
just like
get
Sam
food.
Bankman-Fried.
So that's where you can make the comparison. Like, is it a paid off sort of thing or whatever? But what's weird is that I thought we already kind of debunked the human trafficking thing, but I guess it's back. So I don't know. The other downside to this, or the only thing we won't know, is Andrew Tate, as you guys know, has kind of said stuff about governments and it's a matrix and whatever he says. So I think he might have pissed off some people over there in Romania and some very powerful people, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what this was. I'm sure he got quite a talking to, but I don't. How do I put this? I'm not pro or against Andrew Tate, but I don't think that. I think when your life is out there, like on the internet that much, it's very hard to think of this. Think of any celebrity out there, internet celebrity. They always get caught in the end, right? He went through one of the roughest times of like
just
people.
Clarify something for me.
Go ahead.
He doesn't post stuff on his own,
Well,
correct?
but his stuff's all over the internet.
Right.
No, he has his Hustlers University.
Right.
He's
There's
got his
a
own
difference,
stuff.
right? There's a difference between somebody having a platform and putting their ideas out there versus somehow, I don't know how he gets his ideas that people pick up.
Right.
And they post his stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about if your life's on the internet, and I mean, like, if people went digging, they could figure out who I work for, what companies I work for. It's not that hard.
Right, but I'm saying if you post it, I work for this company, okay? You're out there, you're free game.
Right.
If you never post it and you tell people in a social setting that's not
But you
on
don't
the
become
internet,
a multi-hundred millionaire without, like...
Is he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
Are we
just fact.
sure?
Yeah, because we know he owns casinos.
How do you know that?
Because it's all on paper. That's what I just said.
But
it's on the internet.
Is it? But what's on the internet? Like, I'm only playing devil's advocate here. I could tell you I own hotels all over the world, and I have documents that'll show that I do.
Right, but don't you
Doesn't
think
mean
that...
I do.
Think of the shit that he had to go through the last, like, year. Just for... I mean, you name it. They were all over him, media-wise. You would think that someone would dig something up by now that would have absolutely shattered him.
Well,
so
probably, but then again, there's a clown named Santos. I don't know if you heard about him. He was just elected to the House in New York. He lied about his education. He lied about where he worked. He lied about all this stuff.
But
not
that's what I'm saying.
One person. This is a person running for office. Not one media outlet or person bothered to vet his diploma, his high school. Everybody just assumes this stuff because people post it.
Right, and see what I'm saying? That you're kind of answering what I just said.
Yeah.
Right? If you're out there, which he's out there,
Yeah.
whether he likes it or not,
Yeah.
people are gonna dig. And remember, he was the most hated person.
Are
on
they?
the planet.
I mean, maybe
Oh,
I would
absolutely.
hope so.
If he's
I
the
would think
most
so.
hated
You're
person
right.
on the planet,
You're right.
You know, people are gonna dig, and they're gonna find something if you've done something that egregious as human
Yeah.
trafficking.
But
Someone
I think
would know.
he's only recent, because remember, not to say I'm an expert, but my generation, I never heard about him until about, 6 months ago when you guys told me about
And
it.
I still never heard
Now
about
I
Santos. And you're saying they've already found stuff
Well,
about
Santos just happened, but...
it. And in how many days did it take them to go through diplomas and find out he was lying? Like, what, 3 days? 4 days?
Yeah, but they didn't do it before the election. That's the joke.
Sure,
He's
but-
been
okay,
elected.
You're still proving my point here. You're not...
No, I'm agreeing with you. We are in agreement.
So
Nobody has bothered to look into it,
Yeah.
but now, because he's out there, like you said, you're going to start people
So that's
start
what I'm
digging
saying.
through his stuff more
Yeah,
and more.
I'm surprised that if this is true and
Yeah.
it is money laundering
Yeah.
or whatever,
Right.
I'm surprised it's not already out there and that he would have been arrested a long time ago. That's why I don't believe that this is going to be human trafficking, maybe even money laundering. It's actually more likely money laundering than human trafficking in the sense of, like, money laundering is a little harder to
Here's my
discover.
opinion with the human trafficking side of it, based on what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Filming pornographic stuff and using women to do it, okay?
Well,
I think-
hold on. That's not really true. It's webcam models.
Whatever. But
So,
yeah, it's that's how they present it in the worst case scenario. It sounds terrible. Well, I can see another side to that story. I can see them hiring women because they didn't deny that they did this.
Yeah.
He said they did it for money, he and his brother. I can see them hiring women to do it, paying them to do it, the women agreeing to do it, and now they're turning around because they have other people who don't like Andrew Tate,
Yeah,
paying
and
them
they can
off
get
to
some
say they never told you, say they never agreed to it. Didn't they force you into it? Now I got human trafficking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's got to be proven. Now it becomes their word against these women's words. It's like the Me Too thing all over again. This is the scam that can be done.
Right.
Now, he seems like a bright guy. He seems like his brother's a bright guy. I am sure that they have ironclad signed whatever from these women, and they wouldn't be so stupid as to
Yeah,
have
I'm
these
sure
women
they
do
had
these things and not have something in writing.
NDA, yeah,
Right.
yeah, agreed.
But
he runs
you
a
can-
business. He's not a guy just starting. He's a man that has made hundreds of millions of dollars and has, I'm sure you don't get to that point
just
without
by-
getting screwed over at least. Yeah,
By just throwing the allegations out there.
makes him look bad.
Right. Look
Yeah.
at Kavanaugh, our
Yeah.
Supreme Court Justice. Just throw it out there. You don't even have to prove it. You just
Right.
throw it out there, and now they will forever be tainted as human
Right.
traffickers.
Which is why I think it's just a detainment. That 1 day detainment and then 30 days just a vet. Right? They're gonna have to go through all this
right,
stuff.
and he seemed to know that this was coming. He
Yeah.
predicted all these things were going to happen.
So
Because that's the standard. That's the way things go nowadays, especially if you're somebody who's opinionated, and especially if they don't like your opinion.
yeah, it's exactly as he said it would go down months ago.
Right. And that's just it. Hopefully, based on the fact that he's so prescient is the word, he knew ahead of time all this, that they ironclad got everything, any business, including this pornographic business, that they were smart enough to do everything ironclad because they know full well the government's coming at them, somebody, whatever country they're living in, and they can document and say, I knew this was going to happen, here's this, and this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think it'll have any effect. If anything, the worst thing that's going to happen is he's just going to move out of Romania.
Yeah,
and
I guess
that
he'll
would
go.
be my guess. When he's
well,
done,
right
he's
now they're
just
probably
like,
holding his passport.
Exactly.
He can't go anywhere until this
after
is done.
everything's vetted.
So he pays people off or does what he has to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I would be. Yeah. Again, I would be very surprised if.
Because I believe his brother's already been released. They dropped the charges on the brother.
So it's just Andrew now.
Right. So now you know it's political.
Yeah.
They're
exactly.
just going after him because I've never heard boo out of the brother's mouth, but you hear everything out of Andrew's mouth.
His brother's pretty funny, but yeah, I don't. Again, there's a lot more to that than I'm sure we know. But as I said, you're not making hundreds of millions of dollars without. At some point along that road, you would have been caught before you even got to that financial number. So that's why I don't believe that this is going to be truthfully a human trafficking, money laundering. I think this is the government wanting to talk to him.
Well,
I would say that.
I'm learning as I get older, and you'll get there too. I'm skeptical about everybody. The more somebody tells me how much they have, the more skeptical I am. And I've always told you this, human nature being what it is. I'm more impressed by people who never tell me how much money they have and find out how much they have. That's not
Tate, though.
I know. That's not his personality. And I'm not saying he doesn't have it. And I'm not saying he isn't, you know, I agree with a lot of things he says. I roll my eyes at a lot of things he says. But I do believe everybody has the right to say it. He can say whatever he wants to. I believe everybody can. Having said that, okay, you keep telling me how much money you have. That's great. Doesn't matter to me.
And you see these Bugattis.
I know. But, you know, we know a lot of people that own really nice cars, and then you come to find out they don't own them.
Yeah.
They lease them. Or they put them in their friends' names, and they never own them because they owe so much money to everybody else they can't.
Right.
You know, I always look at the more people boast about it, the more. Didn't he say the same thing about Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yeah, remember?
You got to really look at people that are wearing shorts all day and driving a Prius and telling you worth billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
Yeah, he's right.
He's right, but it works both ways. You know, people keep telling me how wealthy they are. At some point, I'm going to be like, all right, I see a lot of wealthy things, but why do you have to keep telling me if you're so wealthy? Right. You know.
So, do you have any more articles, or?
I just had one because you mentioned today that quite a number of people, we have a Swedish audience out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which I wasn't aware of.
13% of our Spotify viewers are Swedish.
There's an interesting article, and they probably know more firsthand about this than I do, but the, did I lose the article? Here it is. Sweden. Immigrant kids outnumber Swedes in major city. Swedish is now the minority language in schools.
Wow, really?
Yes. So, about 2/3 of the children are not Swedish in this town of Malmö. I don't know if I pronounced it right. Well, it's one town, but they're looking at the country as a whole. So the most common country or citizenship now, or I shouldn't say it that way, the most common people background, Iraq in Sweden.
Okay.
Next in line is Syria, Denmark, Poland, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and a small number from Afghanistan, Lebanon, and Iran. Swedish is the minimal language in the schools. That's a total population of 10 million people. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah, it's not that
big of a country to begin with, right?
10 million people.
That's not that big.
Malmö's residents born outside of Sweden, the most common, like I said, was Iraq. And then you have these other countries. He notes that it's a minority language in schools now. Yeah, and that's pretty sad. And we do know that in this country, there are places in the country where English is the minority language in our schools. And it's not a priority. And what's scary, or concerning, I should say, for any sovereign nation is when they're pushing to say, if you want these kids to learn faster, you better start teaching them in their native language. That doesn't help to promote your national language. If you're going to say, well, you know what, let's do everything in Spanish, or let's do it in what do the Iraqis speak? Forget their language, Iraqi language. No, drawing a blank. What's not Arabic,
Israeli?
But no, that's Israel. So anyhow, it's it should be a concern, and Sweden of all places. I mean, think about it. What do you think of when you think of Sweden? Blonde-haired, blue eyes.
Yeah.
So it's. I always find it interesting how people always push for diversity, and I agree, diversity is important. That's why I like sovereign nations. Kurdish, yes. Kurdish. That's why I like sovereign nations. I like borders. I like countries to maintain their ethnicity. Why? Because that's how you get diversity. if you just mesh everybody into these countries, that's not more diverse. You're just diluting the cultures, and I don't see a value to that. So, that's my opinion.
So that's the last real article we have, but I just want to make sure there's no questions in the Discord. There's one more thing we have to talk about.
Oh, we're getting close now. Yeah. Getting late.
It's only 8:44.
No, I'm watching your time.
Oh, YouTube. We got to talk about YouTube. YouTube they did some big rule updates, which kind of affected a lot of channels. So YouTube made it's almost like they treat it like a government secret whenever they release some kind of news thing, because they never tell anybody.
Are you trying to get me crazy, Chris?
I mean, I'm about to get crazy, but all the other YouTubers are talking about it, so I feel like I should kind of put my 2 cents in here. So YouTube just did a huge sort of change. Well, not even sort of. It's a huge change. So one of the rules we've had for a couple of years now was you weren't allowed to swear within the first 15 seconds of a video, which pretty easy. Okay. If you can't stop yourself from swearing for the first 15 seconds, check your life out, right?
You got a problem.
But they've made it. I always thought that it was based on percentages, which is pretty. I thought it was like within if you have a 4-hour video, I would think that it was based on percentages rather than. But luckily, apparently, it's always been 8 seconds or 15 seconds. 15. They just moved it down to 8, which is nice. But the problem with this is that now it's not just the 8 seconds. That's part of it. But now you can't play games that are certain gory or whatever. Like, you have to really change up your content. Any swearing after that 15 seconds, you basically get like a hell or a damn, and then everything else is demonetized.
Oh.
So, again, fortunately for us...
now, can you edit stuff out, or if somebody does live?
Even if it's bleeped out, it's still considered a swear word, which for kids, they're like, oh, what does that bleep mean? We have something called YouTube Kids. There's literally an application for kids.
For kids.
So why are you trying to dumb down YouTube itself? You have a kids app for that.
Right.
Don't dumb it down. But now they're like, oh, certain gory games, so Call of Duty, if there's people shooting each other, that could be demonetized. It's all...
But only if it's in the first 15 seconds, or
no,
any
now
time?
It's after that. The 15 seconds, it basically nulls the 15 seconds, or 8 seconds it is. Because, no, it doesn't matter. Maybe I stop swearing, but let's say I'm playing a horror game that's not suitable for kids.
So what are people supposed to do? If that applies to everybody, no one's going to post anything.
Now, I want you guys to know that my mom just said that when she doesn't have any real concept of YouTube. It's just common sense, right? Common sense. So... And they didn't think to tell anyone, so everyone got these huge demonetization waves. Like everything goes from green to yellow on limited ads
or the flip side is the content's going to be boring because it's all going to be people doing an hour of nothing with swearing or
gore. So the question is, why did they do this? And this is my guess, and this might be a far-fetched guess.
To get money out of you to
not
post
money,
stuff?
Well, that could be it, but money. It's not even that, because they're going to kill their ad revenue. Right? Because most of your best creators, they're swearing, they're doing whatever. They're being themselves.
Yeah.
The whole point of what YouTube started as.
Right.
But who's the biggest content creator on the planet right now? Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast keeps all of his content pretty clean.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to get 1,000 Mr. Beasts out of this, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. Yeah. No one's going to touch that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they're doing this. Or they're trying to weed out the weak. And what I mean by that, and weak's not really the right word. I'm just kind of using that as kind of the
people whose content is just swearing and gore.
It could be, but also this is what sucks, and we're fortunate in the sense that, as most of our viewers know, YouTube's not my main source of income. Thank God.
Right.
I would like it to be, but that's a different story. Right. It's not my main source of income, so it really doesn't affect me in the sense of financials. But let's say you're a small YouTuber with, let's say, 50,000 to 100,000 subscribers, and you're averaging, let's say, $100 a video, and you're doing $2,000 a month. That could be your rent. Now you just lost it all. It's almost like they're trying to get rid of the small guys. They don't want to pay everyone anymore. They want to pay just these specific people that they like.
Do you think they're trying to do like an Elon Musk? Generate revenue, and now they'll turn around and say, okay, because there's a problem, we'll let you do it, but you have to buy a mature content rating for $10 a month?
Well, we have a mature system, But the maturity system does two things. It screws you in the algorithm because it brings you down to the algorithm from getting age restricted, it's called. So obviously YouTube's not going to promote the age restricted ones. They're going to promote the non-age restricted ones because they're child friendly, ideally. What was I going to say? It's just that it sucks that they didn't tell us or give us any warning, and it sucks that YouTube has gotten to the point where it's not. YouTube. The reason that most YouTubers started, including myself, was because it allowed us to be as creative as we wanted, as long as we weren't decapitating people.
Right.
But now it's at the point where you're kind of taking the creativity out of it and like the ability to be your own person on YouTube. What are you looking at?
I didn't know if she was chewing something.
Oh, she killed the bug.
she got that flying bug.
She got it. Nice job. Missy, come here. Missy,
I think they're always doing this, and that's my only thing. The only benefit to them is censorship, or, which that doesn't really apply for people swearing on it, or to come up with money, a revenue stream.
Some revenue
So if they're going to cut you guys back, they're going to hurt you guys and hurt themselves, but it probably won't be instantaneous. It'll be a process of people watching it and going, this is boring.
They'll get more ad people from up top.
Yeah.
So, like, Pepsi will come back because I don't think Pepsi's been sponsoring them ever since the big adpocalypse.
But why doesn't Pepsi? Wouldn't they go to a Mr. Beast? Like, I'm sure there are people out there.
They go to YouTube, and YouTube says, "Hey, we're just going to put the ads wherever." Like, they don't go directly.
Oh, okay. They don't.
You're thinking sponsorship.
Okay,
we're talking YouTube's ad revenue, Google. So I think that's part of the reason. So my real question and what I would look at Susan Wojcicki, who's the CEO of YouTube, I would say, hey, is it you guys making I'd say level with me, off the record. Is it you guys making these decisions, or is it that all the highest shareholders, sponsors, and ads are making that decision? Yeah. Now, that would make a difference, but also it's like you still have to tell us, and that's the biggest problem. And I've seen a lot of YouTubers talk about their YouTube contacts who even they don't know this rule. So
and if they're making that decision, what benefit is it to them?
Yeah, I don't know what they gain. You're going to lose so much money off this because now you have some algorithm that's already shit to begin with.
Right.
Trying to decipher, is this child friendly? Is it not? So I've always age restricted my videos in the sense of if you're it's age restricted. It gives you the warning, but you can still watch it if you click a button. It's not.
So you I
get to pick as of now.
As a creator, you get to pick your age.
So I've always been fine. Yeah. So what most creators do, which kind of you're getting around the system, is they just say don't age restrict it, even though I'm swearing and stuff. You can do that.
And they'll.
I don't do that because that way I at least know what will be age restricted and what's not.
Well, then YouTube come in and give you a warning that you are now, if they see your content or algorithm, whatever, and they say, oh, you have to be age restricted now. Because you have too much swearing. Will they do that? Okay.
Yeah, they'll do that automatically. I do it manually, so it's fine.
But
for
you
me.
don't have to. You're saying somebody can just post something and then YouTube will come in and say
I just assume because I
have
swear quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you've heard what we've talked about on in our live streams. Like,
no, I'm just asking. What is their system? What's required? So you just answered that. A person could just post out there, and they'll get a restriction from YouTube.
Yeah, if YouTube, usually the algorithm will pick it up, so that's why people do it and you get more views that way. I've never done that because I just assume, like, I don't want 4-year-olds watching me anyway. Like, if you look at Logan Paul's demographics, it's probably like 4 through 16.
Right.
And
so and
they're
that
not
makes
adults.
sense. They should do that on these platforms.
But the problem is the demonetization, right? I'm not. Now you're demonetizing me. At least because I was honest, you weren't demonetizing me. I just got age restricted. Now you're age restricting me, and I'm losing money.
Yeah, that's not fair.
So it's a double whammy. And again, if you told us that and you said, hey, as you saw with our channel ban, they're very non-transparent with us.
Yes.
So.
But and also, why can't I don't understand what the problem is if they have different content levels. So if you swear, children shouldn't be seeing it.
Exactly.
And a parent is assessing if they're allowing their kid to watch something that's not age restricted.
Yeah, and we have YouTube Kids for a reason. Why do you have there's an application for YouTube Kids. Right. So I don't understand why you would do this to your highest level creators.
Now, would somebody like Mr. Beast be on the kids one?
I'm sure he is as well. I mean, there's certain ones that he does that might not. Like, I'm sure he took a couple video hits on, in the sense of, I'm sure some of his videos got demonetized, but like he makes so much money, you probably won't even notice.
Yeah.
I'm
just wondering if they take these contents that don't have the gore and don't have the the bad words, will they automatically put those on the kids?
I don't know. I've never used the kids app.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't know if they. So you don't get to choose that.
no, it's just
Okay,
I
they
just
pick
upload,
what goes
yeah.
on the kids one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There might be something for kids. You might have to sign certain things for kids. I know that when I post a video, it says, "Are kids involved?" and I always hit no because it's not. There's no kids. So I think that literally means if I had like a underage brother.
In the video. Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. But if it's kids in a video game, no, that doesn't matter. You don't have to do that.
Okay.
But as I said, it's just so not transparent in a company that needs transparency. Like to the fact that, like to the point that even their own employees don't know what's going on. Like people's YouTube contacts, they're like, "Oh, I never heard this rule." Then they have to go back and basically retell their YouTube creator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is actually what we just changed. It's like, what's going on? Like someone's making the decisions and they're not good decisions.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense because here's the double whammy for YouTube, right? They're gonna lose a shit ton of money. I know they will.
Right.
Unless they did this because they have some grand plan where they're making a lot of money.
Right.
The second reason that it's gonna hurt them is because everyone, and I mean everyone, is going to hit that manual review button.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for the sad son of a bitch who has to sit through all those.
And weed through them and decide.
Or the problem is they're just gonna see it and just basically just keep hitting deny. Yeah. So,
which is easier for them, but it stinks for you guys, and you're their content.
And this is where the monopoly comes in of YouTube. We still don't have anything that's going. It boosts Rumble.
Is there an individual or a platform that represents you content people to YouTube?
That's a good question. I really don't know. I'm gonna say if there is, it's not big enough that. It's not a big enough organization that can really do anything. I mean, you're going up against Google, even in a representation form.
Well,
Google
but I'm saying
goes,
you
no.
are the but because
Well,
it's individuals coming or individual platforms coming.
It would have to
but
be
if it was
big
somebody
YouTuber.
who represented everybody saying, "Hey, look, we've got a problem with this, and this is why."
Oh yeah, I mean, big YouTubers have spoken out, but they go, "Yeah, we'll fix it," and then they never do.
Yeah.
So unless they get so much backlash, which I have a gut feeling they'll get a lot of backlash for this one.
Once people become more and more aware of it. Maybe
Yeah.
a lot of people still aren't aware of it until they actually see it happen and go, whoa, what just happened there?
Exactly. So once you see the ban wave of your videos going from green to yellow or even to red,
right,
and yellow being limited ads and red being no ads, this is going to be a big problem for a lot of YouTubers. You're going to see some YouTubers go, "Hey, I can't afford the lifestyle. I can't afford to keep making videos."
Well, that's what I'm saying. It'd be nice to have a representative.
Yeah.
For a certain size gamers.
Maybe but what are you
ones.
there to represent?
To collectively say, hey, look, 99 or 99,000 of my content generators on YouTube are contacting me because they're now in the yellow zone.
But YouTube can easily say, hey, well, they're not making us money anymore, so we have no reason to keep them.
Well, and that's a fair business decision. But your argument is, well, we do make you money because we're an alternative to some of the bigger ones because not everybody
again,
wants
as I said, we're
ones.
fortunate enough that YouTube's not my main job, but I'm saying if you were a guy who just got his start, right? Like just started getting fame on YouTube, or not fame, but like financials.
Go manual.
Yeah.
Tell them now, go manual first.
Do what I did. Go manual, even though you're going to lose a lot of views. But at least you'll still get the monetization.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's just like this is such a weird decision on their part. Like, I don't know who tried implementing this and why. My guess is Google just said, hey, listen, we're making a lot of money right now. We really don't need these YouTube kids anymore as much. Keep the big ones that are child-friendly, but if it's going to jeopardize ad revenue, don't even bother. And I think that's what they're doing.
Well,
that would be my guess.
Legitimate reason, but as long as everybody only wants to see the big ones at some point.
Again, I've always been a huge proponent of, like, it's a blessing that YouTube pays us at all for the content that we make.
Mm-hmm. But they don't pay you right away. You've got to build to that.
Yeah.
You have to build
you have to build your platform.
Yeah.
That's true. And you're fighting algorithms. So when you do get to the point when you are making money, it is a miracle.
Right. So you worked with them for a period of time to get to a certain point, and now they're slapping you in the face and saying, guess what? Now I'm going to knock you down because I'm going to let... That's not right.
Again, luckily for me, as I said, I've been doing it the right way, not kind of abusing the system of... It's not really abuse, but you know what I mean. I've never been hit negatively. Like, all mine are still in the green because I've always age restricted anyway. Like, it doesn't affect me at all.
Right.
But for the YouTubers that they were told, hey, you can do it this way for the last 10 years, and they've been making tens of $1,000s a month.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they go, hey, you're going to make maybe $2,000. Like, maybe.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
So, YouTube, I don't know what's going on. Hopefully give us answers. If anything, that's all we want, just answers.
Yeah.
You don't even have to change it. Just tell us why, and maybe we'll even understand. But I think there's going to be some changes in the sense of the content you guys watch. Not ours. Ours probably won't change.
Oh,
But
well, you might lose some of the smaller ones that just can't
you're
afford
gonna
to do it.
those like I'm wondering how like a Markiplier or a Jacksepticeye is going to do in the sense of, I mean, they're big YouTubers, but that's still going to hurt them if they get demonetized.
I agree.
Yeah. All happy notes for New Year's Eve. So we'll end it there.
Lose money, 3 people died. What else can we do?
Yeah,
End of the
yeah.
Catholic Church. What else? Yeah.
Dear God, what a depressing one.
On to 2023.
Yeah. Hopefully a better year.
Should be an interesting year.
Oh, that's an understatement. Missy hates that you're there, which is hilarious. She's like, hey, Graham, move.
I know. Well, too bad. I'm almost done, Missy.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we will end it there. No Discord questions, which sucks. I would have liked some questions to answer, but it's fine. Thoughts on War Thunder? Oh, well. We'll do that another one. That's not a bad question, but I don't know much about War Thunder. I wonder if you meant Warhammer. But either way. So we'll end it there. Again, Happy New Year, guys. We will see you in 2023. Only things I have to promote were nothing on the board. So
Right? You're doing this in the future.
Yeah, well, we're behind because of Christmas. So I did the PRs, and they're going to be coming out. Zombies video tomorrow. So Sunday is going to be a Zombies video. Monday, I don't know what we're going to do for stream. Monday's the podcast. So this comes out Monday. Spotify version's on Tuesday. I have a couple ideas on what Wednesday's going to be. But, yeah. I don't know. It's going to be kind of a hectic week still into the new year. Plus traveling. So
Pancake got to get his flow.
Yeah. It's like I feel like I'm on a clean slate right now because I have to. As you guys can't see the board, but it's literally empty. So I got a lot to do. But either way, social media down below, promo codes down below, other stream links down below, and again, Discord down below for those of you to join and post questions, PR stuff. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say for the PRs, again, there's a category in there for recommending games to do the PRs. There's a couple right now, but throw them in just so I don't forget them months down the road when I get to them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So you guys, again, Happy New Year, and we will see you in 2023.